Today I have some theory, some slides, some different practices that some are, I'm going to say quiet contemplative sitting. That's what we're going to start with. Some I may invite more movement. Please, if you want your camera on, great. If you want it off, if you're somebody who's a little more shy when we're doing some practices, please do whatever supports you to feel as comfortable, or what I would say relatively safe as can be. We can never assure, I don't think, total or complete safety in all circumstances, though I wish we could. So please know that if there's anything that doesn't feel comfortable, shift to something you know that works for you. Go back to something we might have done that works better or is more helpful. Anything that you need to do to tend to yourself. I'm not getting into a lot of content. Sometimes in my presentations, I talk more about the work. I am a dance movement therapist, a somatic psychotherapist, human rights psychotherapist, but I'm not going to draw from any of my clinical stuff. So there hopefully won't be material that's too challenging. And I work in the field of human rights abuse. And so it's in the field and it's in my heart. And so, sometimes that enters a space. So always tend to yourselves. So with all of that, what I'm going to invite everybody to do is just to take a moment where you are now and notice how physically comfortable you are or not. Notice your physical comfort. And I'm very intentional in working with the physicality of comfort. There's so much about comfort on broader levels that's harder to shift, but our physical comfort, hopefully now, sitting wherever you're sitting, is accessible. So what I invite you to do is notice how physically comfortable you are, and then to take a couple moments to actually see if you can do anything to shift to more physical comfort. This is a very simple practice. Do you have a butt cheek that hovers? Like I have, my right butt cheek literally hovers over my chair more than my left because of some of my imbalances, injuries. Sometimes we have a leg crossed and we uncross it and we go, oh, that released some tension in my pelvic floor and my low back. We want to be closer or farther away from light or heat. So there's external and internal cues. So just take a moment to track that and to shift your physical comfort a little bit. And that's the first very simple practice. Even if it's just a wee bit of more physical comfort, what that actually does is it enhances our natural neuroception. So that's our first polyvagal term that's much more well known now than it was even 5 years ago. So we're actually cueing our body and finding a little more physical comfort to drop a little bit more into what I'm going to call our authentic sense of how we neurocept, interocept, and percept. So we're getting closer to home in small ways, right? So I also call this a micro empowerment. That's one of the Polyvagal-Informed somatic dance movement terms, a tiny little shift. Moving towards comfort. Now I'm going to invite you to do what I call take a baseline, physical baseline. And the word that I'm going to use is weight. Weight draws from the world of dance therapy, and what it really means, it's not how much we weigh, it's the physicality of our presence. So from that construct of dance movement therapy, or that field, it's literally the physicality of our presence. Can I sense myself here? So I've shifted my comfort, physical comfort a bit. Can I sense my body? If the idea of weight doesn't work for you, there's a couple options. Just sense your body. Just sense, and you might make contact with it. You might just kind of sense it. Sometimes we imagine it. We can imagine that we can see ourselves. You probably see yourself on the screen. But sensing into your weight. Another way to work with this that's quite, that helps a lot of my clients is to notice all the points of contact between you. So it might be your butt, your back, your hamstrings, between you and whatever you're touching, whether it's a chair or a couch or a floor or a cushion. Points of contact, and notice how much support you're receiving through those points of contact. So that's a little formula for finding the physicality of our presence, our weight. Moving towards comfort, simple practice. Finding our weight is actually a way to drop a little bit more into our present being, our body. So take a moment just to find points of contact, support or weight. And then I'm going to invite you to find your breath. This trail of eternal connection with the universe, right? We inhale a gift from all time, all space. We exhale an offering. Breath is our connection to the natural world, the universe, our ancestors. And by ancestors, I mean not just two-legged or human form, all ancestors who helped land us here in this shape, in this time. So find the trail of breath, inhaling in, exhaling out. And I'm going to invite you, if it feels comfortable enough, when you inhale, imagine the inhale going inward and go with it. Kind of like your own, what are those scopes on submarines that whatever they do, or laser MRI or something like that. You're following your inhale into your body as much as is comfortable or accessible. Going into your inner landscape, your inner terrain, your inner climate. So many practices focus on the exhale right now. Inhaling, dropping into your inner landscape. Just let the exhale be. Just using the inhale to drop inside, which is another way to meet our body. So you might be someone who's really aware of things like structures, organs, places where there's space, cavities, or you might just have a sense of the space inside of you. There's so much, there's so many symphonies and choruses, little coral reefs with tiny fish inside that are moving, that are part of our living, breathing being. We don't get to see, but now with our breath bringing us in, witnessing inner landscape and just sense into yourself. And then I'm going to invite you kind of like dropping in, almost like a weight, if you've ever been weights that can drop into the water, drop into your center. So just find your inner center. Using that inhale as a guide, the exhale just lets go. And just sense into your inner center. And again, if anything's not comfortable, go back to the last thing that was, or engage with your own practice. Inhale and just land in the center of your interior world, sensing inside yourself. Maybe you find your heart, magnificent sensory organ, maybe your belly, viscera, deep wisdom pool. I always feel like there's an ancient cave of wisdom there. Maybe you're in your bones. Some of my medicine teachers talk about bones as where the ancestors tune us and attune to us. Lots of memory there. So just sensing inside yourself. It can be interesting to do this practice by prefacing it with a question of, what do I know? I didn't do that today. You might take a moment to just think, what might I have said about what I know before I started this? And then as we drop in and find an inner sense of center after weighting ourselves or meeting our physical presence. What do we know from this place? Connecting back to the rhythm of your breath, inhaling, dropping deeper into your center, and then the exhale, which is the parasympathetic, right? Letting go, release. Notice the exhales as well now. You inhale deeper in, and then as you exhale, just notice if the exhale can be an invitation for your body to move from your center. The words don't make sense. Drop in again. Inhale. Sensing inner landscape, inner terrain. Exhaling. And just see if any movement literally rises up. Could be a little roll of the shoulders. Could be a little wiggle. It might not be a perfectly shaped choreographed movement. It might be something more organic. Perhaps the gentle separation of some spinal vertebrae that have felt kind of clumped together. A little rock, a little pulse. These are the primary movements of life, right? Tiny little pulsations, twitches. Inhale, your center, exhaling. Just letting whatever movement or stillness. Stillness is on the continuum of movement. So we can be still. We're still moving. A couple more breaths like this. Your exhales may turn into a stretch if you haven't had a proper stretch this morning. If you are hurrying about, the movements can be as big or as small as you want. Boy, the minute I sit down, I get some back stuff. So let the exhale be a moment of exploration of some movement that maybe just feels like exactly what you want to do. I don't want to say feels good. Feels like exactly what you want to do. A couple more breaths doing that. And then bring your attention back to your inner center. Letting go of you're still exhaling, but letting go of that emphasis of movement on the exhale, just inhaling. And let the inhale begin to bring you back out. So back out. We're going to be moving back towards being together in this virtual space, but take your time. Don't just open your eyes and go, here I am. In fact, it might work better for you to inhale and then let the exhale bring you out slowly, bringing you from this inner space, inner awareness, inner exploration to feeling you sitting here. Notice your weight again, points of contact, support. Notice if there's been any shift. We take baselines to honor the beginning of any process. It can just be helpful. And then we can compare later. Has my sense of weight, contact, support, presence shifted? I started doing that when some of my clients were like, why are you making me do this stuff? What? I thought you were a therapist. Notice what shifts. And it might be, oh yeah, that butt cheek is on the chair now. I'm sitting down. I'm being supported and held by the chair, actually. Notice if there's a shift in physical comfort, if you feel more or less comfortable, more or less weighted or presence, just a little comparison. One more thing about baselines, there is never, ever in the work that I do a demand for change. If we're in the same place, we celebrate that. Our body's wisdom, hallelujah, it knows where we need to be, and we honor that. Never push for change. Sometimes we feel a little less comfortable, something's shifted, a little more information. So when you're ready, coming up through those baselines, weight, comfort,